Back at you Monday morning. You can count them. It's July 29th, means we have 3 days left. So today we're going to be talking about SearchGPT, CDK still, and 3 is better than 1. Especially when you're talking about donuts. Morning, Kyle. Oh, Kyle's outside. We're going to see how our internet holds up here.
Do it. We're close. You might hear me. Is that the case?
Okay, well, if you can hear me, we got a little bit of robot Kyle. We're going to let him catch up. But, I mean, look, it's already the end of July. We have 3 days left. If you're in fixed ops, you only have like 2 opens left because you opened this morning and you're already rocking and rolling. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. We got a lot of good things coming up. One of those things we want to make sure you know, top of the week, that we have a webinar coming up next Tuesday. So just about a week away. August 7th. These are always so much fun. Just go to ASOTU.com, check it out. We're talking about what's been brewing with the cars rule as you have not been thinking about it. We've had a lot to think about. We've had, CDK thing, and we've had summertime, and we've had inventory things, but the cars rule has still been meandering its way through the channels. I mean, you know how it works in Washington, D.C. in the summer. We all do, right? Who's actually working? I don't know. Kyle, can you hear me? No, he can't. He's having a hard time. Why don't we do this? Kyle, maybe if you kill your video, we can still have audio. Or you're probably on your phone and you can't call me your phone. Look, this is part of the fun of a live show and what we do and how we get through. Kyle, if you at this point just want to call me on your phone, just call me on your phone. I will patch you into the show and we'll go old school. Want to do that? Can you hear me?
It's coming.
Okay.
I can hear you. Can you see me or hear me?
Kyle just snapped into place. There you go.
Look at that. Am I here?
Except we.
All right.
Yeah, but we have.
Let's see how it holds up.
We have like Kyle coming at us like circa year 2000 from the Middle East, and he's on like a 3-second delay. So we'll try to do the whole fun thing here. All right. So here we go. We're going to just get going with the stories. Kyle, why don't you just try to call me? That way we can get some real-time feedback. Hold on. He's dialing it up. Look, I posted actually so appropriate that this morning on LinkedIn, my post was this picture, which is kind of like me in the center of this big blur thing. And I was like, how it feels being a content making entrepreneur. And this is so appropriate to that post this morning because that's what it is. Everything's a blur. You're always fighting technology, but guess what? You still have to get the job done. And that's not undifferent. I mean, that's not different than what so many people in the auto industry do every day. Brian Benstock posted this morning. He said, there's no such thing as an easy business. I'm tired of people whining about how it's hard. And I kind of relate to that right now. So once Kyle gets through in the phone call, he's going to get through any second here. What we're going to do is we're going to start talking through some stories. Today, we're talking about kind of an update in the CDK saga, we'll call it. Also talking about some product planning and how 3 OEMs have gotten together to make some real progress. And then finally, we're going to talk about SearchGPT. Hey, Kyle, you with me? Yeah, you are. Kyle, I picked up your phone call. He's still trying to fight with this technology. I know. If you're still here with us by now, what we're going to do is I'm just going to start reading into the stories. Pick up your phone, bro. If you're watching this, this is hilarious because Kyle probably can't hear me right now, but he's looking at his phone and I literally have him on the phone right here. You can hear me, right? It's great because at this point, either people are just laughing or there's no one listening. So
here we are.
There you go. There you go. He's on the phone now. All right. Now we can get some real time. This is how we do it. Good old telephone.
This is it. Old school telephone.
Good old telephone. I wish you had like the big handset so you could be like holding the telephone. Kyle's got his bag phone out there. So we're just going to get into some stories. All right, here we go. In the latest update to the CDK saga, many dealers are now frustrated by the DMS provider after it offered a 1-month rebate on software fees that dealers argue don't cover the cost of the full extent of the expenses that they incurred during the outage. Dealers had to rely on overtime pay for staff is coming up often, slower deals, pen and paper, walkarounds, temporary third-party software solutions that are not CDK solutions, and that resulted in, as we're talking about, lost revenue, lost vehicle sales, further compounding the impact. Scott Herber, CDK's chief revenue officer, said in a statement to Automotive News, quote, "We appreciate and value our dealership partners and recognize the resilience they showed by continuing to conduct business throughout the outage. My team and I have personally spoken to the dealerships, and most have been very grateful and appreciative of the compensation. However, some dealers signaled dissatisfaction. One of those is our friend Damon Lester, owner of Nissan of Bowie, saying, quote, "The amount of manpower and losses that we all incurred from the expense of having to still pay people is definitely greater than 1 month's invoice." Judy Farkas Sarah, COO of Headquarter Automotive, echoes Rita Case's sentiments on the issue, said, "I would say 3 months would probably be closer to making up for what's happened." Damon shared with Automotive News that 1 month's invoices totals at about $20,000. So kind of that's what CDK put on the table, said a lot of people are happy with that. Obviously, there are a number of people saying that's not enough. So this is kind of going on back and forth as CDK tries to still kind of get their arms around everything that happened in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, when I look at this, my first gut reaction is that 1 month does seem a little bit light. I can't imagine trying to take 1 month of revenue and put it back to customers after you just, forked out millions of dollars on a ransom.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like most of these contracts have SLAs for uptime, and obviously this would have been a massive breach of SLA uptime. So I don't know what those look like on the side of the dealers. But typically contracts have stuff written in for this. So I would be surprised if that's not the case here.
Well, they did talk about, in the contract as standard contract language that, the parts of the business affected by a certain lane of technology and then like derivative effects not being included in liability. And so, I mean, we all are kind of familiar with that too. Like when your internet service goes down, and especially if you have a business, like, our internet goes down here, we're a media agency. So like we can't do business, right? We can't upload, we can't live stream, we can't, but the internet company's not liable for that. And they're just like, we'll refund you your whatever. So obviously, but there's long-term contracts, there's goodwill at stake. So we'll see how CDK continues to put their best foot forward to just show goodwill to the industry, saying we're trying to make things right and do better in the future. And dealers are trying to do their best to manage their business, pay their people, take care of what they need to take care of. So just another little progression of this. And I'm hopeful that in the next 30, 60 days, right, we don't talk about this anymore, right?
Me too.
Says everyone included in this story, including us. Speaking of a whole big group of people doing stuff.
Stop.
Whoa.
Segue.
This is a fun one. I love this collaboration. Product planning in automotive has become very increasingly complex. There are promised transitions to EVs, potential upheaval of emissions regulations, upcoming U.S. elections. Toyota, Subaru, and Mazda are working together to leverage their cooperative agreements to navigate all of this stuff together. So basically, Toyota and Subaru are launching 3-row EV crossovers next year, assembled in Kentucky with batteries from Toyota's North Carolina plant, which now means they qualify for the consumer tax credit of $7,500. It's great news.
Yep.
Subaru is enhancing its crossover lineup with Toyota's hybrid technology as well, including the new Forester hybrid. Now, Mazda and Toyota are working together to jointly operate in a plant already in Alabama, producing the Corolla Cross and the Mazda CX-50. Mazda plans on adding also a hybrid variant of the CX-50 using Toyota's system. This is so cool to see all this working together. The three automakers are also working together on advanced combustion engines, straight combustion engines, potentially pushing out their full transition to EVs even further. Mazda has announced it will not even fully launch EV products until 2028. So everyone much more measured.
Yeah, I mean, ever since both of these joint ventures were announced, the Toyota Subaru and the Toyota Mazda, and then now like there's a little bit of a joint venture between all three. Ever since that, everybody's known that the desire is to kind of like mash up the hybrid and the hybrid technologies, the engine technologies, and the all-wheel drive technologies from all three companies, because those are like the core things that they do better and differently than everybody else. Mazda has been crushing combustion engines for quite some time, and Toyota with the hybrids. And so when you see the battery technology come from Toyota, the engine technology come from Mazda, and then probably some drivetrain components coming from Subaru. You're going to start to see this massive mashup of vehicles and vehicle lines that challenge the market in a whole new way.
Yeah, I see when we even think about the elements of, for instance, like Chinese competition coming into the U.S. market, it's really great to see a bunch of legacy, we'll call them automakers, working together to combine like all of their advantages to really leverage it to give the market more options and give the market better technology. So it's fun to see this, like the OGs saying, like, rolling up their sleeves and we're like, watch this. This is how we work in the industry. It's pretty cool.
Yep. Speaking of bundling up technology.
Stop. Oh my gosh.
Segue.
Time. OpenAI has come out over the weekend and is now testing SearchGPT, a new search function integrating AI capabilities with a real-time web search to deliver quick, relevant answers with sourced hyperlinks. Currently, it's a new feature only available to a very limited group for testing and feedback, and the integration focuses heavily on high-quality content with management options for users. At the same time, Google, another AI competitor now, has recently stated that they have seen emissions surging by 48% since 2019 due to all of the high energy demands, making it a lot tougher for people to get to net zero by goals like 2030 that Google has. This is a direct competition to things like Perplexity challenging the search market, to Google having their own search capacity, and to all AI companies starting to figure out whether or not they're search companies or just chat communication companies.
I think this also bears the question, right? Like, and this is something I'm sure you and your folks are thinking a lot about, Kyle, but it's like, what is the value of a website? And like right now, that hasn't changed a ton, but that value is changing very rapidly. And like how people are willing to take curated information as the information that they need to take the next step in there, right? Because I was watching, I think it was a Gary Vee video, and he was like, how many people now search on ChatGPT more than they search on Google, or at least as much? And like 60% of the hands in this room went up. Right. And we know that Google knows this already. But, there is a thing in my mind with GPT search. Perplexity is kind of like solving it in a really interesting way. If you haven't tried it, check out Perplexity. But like there's an elevated curation. You and I have talked about this before, that because when you search on Google, right, like your brain already starts to filter sponsored links out. But it's still nice to see sponsored links. It starts to filter out, and you can kind of like scroll that first page pretty quickly and absorb some information. But, SearchGPT, how they deliver it, how they deliver the hyperlinks, the real-time access to the web, how they're curating what it is that you see is even more important when you're only delivering text, right? That has to be generated. So this is the beginning of a major shift and a major era in how people just find stuff that they're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that you can do is just open ChatGPT, drop a page from your website on it, and ask it questions about it, and see if it can figure it out, right? This has to do with things like semantic HTML or technical SEO, things that all of these AI crawlers, whether it be Bing or Google or the actual AI and its training model, have to learn from the web content, which is the resource that is driving so much of the answers that it's given. So like you can start to figure out now whether or not your website is set up for success when it comes to understand to a large language model understanding it as a resource. So that's like a right now thing that you can start to be tracking even in GPT without SearchGPT.
And when you say drop your website in, what do you mean? A link?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, a link, anything about that website, and just start to ask it questions about that page or the entirety of the website, because it can go past just the initial page that you sedate. And that's going to tell you a lot about whether or not the content and the technical SEO structure of the website is ready to go.
Well, there you go. We had a little bit of a bumpy tech start, but I think we ended really strong on the tech side. We gave you some practical tips to check it out, see how GPT thinks about your website. In the meantime, it's still about people.